Now that we're over a decade old, I realized that there's just so much we can do. And so it has been quite a journey, Stephanie. It really has been a very wild ride that I didn't anticipate, and a lot of steps and people and resources and time and thought leadership along the way of this decade plus. And so that's where I support the girls is today. So yeah, we're hopefully going to hit 50 million products donated soon. We partner with massive corporations, and we are grateful for still the individual who said, well, I had a weight loss, I'd like to donate my bras, or I understand this the need of menstrual equity and period poverty that you all talk about on Instagram or TikTok. So I want to donate some packages or host a drive at my book club, my sorority, my workplace. And so every tampon matters, every dollar donated matters, and we take it very seriously.
Well said, well said. And, I totally understand that, we end up with things sometimes in our wardrobe or our cabinets where we don't need to use it anymore. And then we're like, well, what do we do with it? And I have a great example from my own life is the fact that, in recent years, I went through menopause. And suddenly, I'm like last year, actually, I was doing a huge home purge and cleaning out cabinets. And I found a huge stash of unused menstrual products like pads and tampons and all of this stuff, brand new in packages, never opened. And I sat there saying, well, what do I do with this stuff? So, I mean, there's so many instances like that where we have things that, we had purchased and we're like, well, what do we do with it? I am like you, like the thought of throwing anything into my dumpster at this point just makes me cringe because I know it's going into a landfill. So it's like, where do we go, from that point? And I love it. Like there's people like you now that are thinking about these problems and saying, okay, if we organize as a community, we can actually pool these goods and then send them to someone who does need them. Because I think you're really right in that statement in that, we're trying to make sure that when we're recycling, that we're doing it in not only a thoughtful way, that it's going to the people that really need it. And it's not just simply becoming more junk for someone else's closet. And in terms of, being a woman, there's so many things that we have to deal with that just aren't a public conversation. Like men never think about this. They don't think about how much money we spend as women on things like, menstrual products and products that we need just to exist kind of thing. So, it's crazy to me that we're still having this conversation, but, the fact that you started this, over 11 years ago at this point, that's impressive because I feel like we're having much bigger conversations about recycling and what we're calling like reusing, rehoming than we were back in the day. So I mentioned to you when we first started our conversation that I'd actually started a breast cancer foundation.
Yeah,
The
tell me about
funny
that.
thing, what? Yeah, okay, well, it was called Busted Foundation. We were raising, excuse me. Yeah, so it was called Bust It Foundation, and we were raising money for women who were dealing with breast cancer treatment to help them pay those residual bills like co-payments and rent and things that would come up that, they just didn't have the extra money for because maybe they weren't working. And our signature event was actually, you would love it. It was called Bowling for Boobies.